good morning. It's good to be with you again. We're reading again from John's Gospel, chapter 20, as we head towards the Easter weekend, and sharing some devotions from The Glory of the Cross by Tim Chester. Jen's going to read to us from John 20. Thanks, Jen.
Beginning at verse 19. On the evening of that first day of the week, when the disciples were together with the doors locked for fear of the Jewish leaders, Jesus came and stood among them and said, "Peace be with you." After he said this, he showed them his hands and side. The disciples were overjoyed when they saw the Lord. Again Jesus said, "Peace be with you. As the Father has sent me, I am sending you." And with that he breathed on them and said, "Receive the Holy Spirit. If you forgive anyone's sins, their sins are forgiven. If you do not forgive them, they are not forgiven." Now Thomas, also known as Didymus, one of the 12, was not with the disciples when Jesus came. So the other disciples told him, "We have seen the Lord." But he said to them, "Unless I see the nail marks in his hands, and put my finger where the nails were, and put my hand into his side, I will not believe." A week later, his disciples were in the house again, and Thomas was with them. Though the doors were locked, Jesus came and stood among them and said, "Peace be with you." Then he said to Thomas, "Put your finger here. See my hands? Reach out your hand and put it into my side. Stop doubting and believe." Thomas said to him, "My Lord and my God."
Thanks, Jen. We sometimes assume ancient people were gullible. They believed in the resurrection, we suppose, because they would believe in anything. But it's not true. It's a kind of chronological snobbery, this assumption that we're smarter than ancient people. But Thomas demands evidence. He's not a gullible fool. He needs proof. He wants to be able to touch Jesus. He is a skeptic. No one expected the resurrection. It wasn't that resurrection was an idea in the culture that people could readily jump to. The Greeks and Romans didn't believe people could come back to life. When Paul spoke in Athens, his Greek audience were with him until he mentioned the resurrection of the dead. Then, we're told, some of them sneered, Acts 17. In Greek culture, the idea of someone rising from the dead was laughable. Jewish opinion was divided. The Sadducees rejected the idea of resurrection altogether. Other Jews did believe in the resurrection, but only at the end of time. What no one expected was someone rising from the dead in the middle of history. Without exception, when the risen Jesus appeared to people, they were shocked and surprised. They mistook him for someone else, as Mary did, or thought he was a ghost. They didn't see it coming, even though Jesus had told them it would happen. Or perhaps you think the resurrection was an elaborate hoax. The problem is that it's not clear who would organise such a hoax. The opponents of Jesus didn't want him to rise again, and the followers of Jesus didn't expect him to rise again. The best explanation for the resurrection is the one given by those who were there. And something happens which overcomes Thomas's scepticism. He is confronted with the risen Jesus. Thomas is not having a moment of enlightenment. He's not hallucinating or just remembering Jesus. He's not embracing some enduring ideals. Some people have tried to reinterpret the resurrection in these kinds of terms. But Thomas is confronted with the physical reality of a once dead man. Hear, see, touch. Put your finger here. Put it into my side. It's not just touch, it's get inside the flesh of a resurrected body. Thomas's doubts are met with the reality of resurrection as he encounters the physical body of Jesus. And so he cries, "My Lord and my God." John's Gospel begins, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The Word became flesh." Now, at the end of the story, Thomas meets the Word in resurrected flesh and proclaims that the Word is God. Back in the 6th century, Gregory the Great said, "It was not an accident that particular disciple was not present when Jesus first appeared to his disciples. The divine mercy ordained that a doubting disciple should, by feeling in his master the wounds of the flesh, heal in us the wounds of unbelief." Perhaps you sometimes doubt the resurrection. You wish you didn't, but it just seems impossible. God wrote this story into history for you. So let it reassure you. At Easter, skepticism meets reality, physical reality, so that doubt can give way to faith. And then there's a prayer. Lord, I do believe. Help me overcome my unbelief. Lord, I love you. May my love be undivided. Lord, I hope for you. Set my heart on things above. Amen.
Amen.
Thanks for joining us. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.